Every NBA season, content creators and even social media fans alike have their own breakout candidates for the NBA season. This year is no different from the rest. So here are my breakout candidates for the 2025 NBA season. My first breakout candidate for this NBA season, and this one might come as a bit of a surprise because a lot of people are talking about Bennedict Mathurin as a come out candidate, but in my opinion, I like Bennedict Mathurin already. I already thought he was a very good player, so I don't really want to highlight him in this case. Who I do think will break out on his team alongside him is Andrew Nembhard. Andrew Nembhard will be heading into his third season in the NBA, and he of course would have been a popular breakout candidate before the beginning of last season, and that didn't really happen because of Bennedict Mathurin. Now this year, he will retain that status going into this third campaign. While I believe Nembhard failed to make the leap last season, there should be optimism about why this year will be different, although the sample size was small. Nembhard shows some major flashes of readiness in the 2024 playoffs primarily, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, that moved me. Tyrese Halliburton had his series against the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals cut short due to injury, and in his absence, Nembhard stepped up valiantly. Going up against the talented Celtics defense, Andrew Nembhard rose to the occasion in games 3 and 4 of that series. Now, despite the Pacers' losses, Nembhard posted impressive averages of 28 points, 5 rebounds, and 9.5 assists in 2 tight games. The case for Nembhard likely has less to do with his talent and more to do with his role and opportunity, in my opinion. Pacers would be wise to use Nembhard's Eastern Conference Finals play as a display as motivation to carve out a bigger role for him next year and for him to continue to work. But even further than that, he's returning with some Olympic experience as he played a key role for Team Canada in the 2024 Paris Olympics. Admittedly, the team did come up short, but he played very well, especially practicing against tough defensive players like Lou Dort, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Dylan Brooks, and RJ Barrett. Iron sharpens iron, and that only helps Nembhard going into this next basketball season. And I think this kind of helps his development more than it would in a normal offseason where he would just be training. Nembhard should be primed to return to the Pacers as one of the league's biggest breakout candidates. From there, it's up to the Pacers to maximize on his opportunities and showcase his improvements. But I think Andrew Nembhard is one of those guys that has shown real promise to be successful this NBA season. For the next guy, we're going to go back out to the Western Conference because, as you guys know, if you're a regular watcher of the channel, I love Western Conference basketball, and I love it so much so that I've succumbed myself to watch Utah Jazz basketball last season, and Keyonte George moves mountains for me. He had a promising rookie campaign with the Jazz. When the dust settled, George had performed well enough to earn him a spot on the All-NBA rookie second team. Now, the biggest problem with Keyonte was his efficiency. He struggled with this. But this is not an uncommon issue for young guards entering the league. We saw it with Scoot Henderson, who I think might also be a dark horse as a breakout guy, but that's neither here nor there. With regard to Keyonte George, I think there's plenty of optimism that his efficiency will round out in due time, and this gives him an excellent breakout opportunity because if he tightens that up this offseason, coming into the year, he's gonna be one of those teams that are gonna find themselves in a bloodbath for the playoff race because the Jazz showed us by signing Lauri Markkanen, they're not tanking. They're trying to win. Now, of course, they're in the midst of a actually, I would call them a retooling team. I wouldn't even call them a rebuild. But if the Jazz can be successful in their reported plans to trade guards Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton, this should clear up plenty of playing time for George. Not only that, but he should also be featured to a fair extent on the offense. I would love to see Keyonte and Lauri Markkanen's two-man game just amplify this basketball season. And as far as opportunity goes, the world should be George's oyster with his current setup in Utah. I think we're gonna find this a lot of the case with a lot of these guys. It's all about fit. Now, there is one guy on the list that I think it goes further than fit. He's just one of those guys. But until we get there, Keyonte George is an excellent breakout candidate for this year, and I'm watching him with a very close eye. Staying out west and even in the same division, we're going to go ahead and go to the Denver Nuggets. And I think a lot of you watching this are assuming I'm going to say Christian Braun. And while I love Christian Braun, I like Julian Strawther even more as a basketball player. And even when asked about replacing KCP, Michael Malone specifically singled out Julian Strawther, and that kind of added some credence to how I feel about him being a breakout candidate. Now, to be fair, the Nuggets general manager did the same with Christian Braun, who they drafted in 2022. Yet while Braun has already broken into Denver's rotation, while a midseason injury prevented Strawther from doing the same in his rookie season. With Malone more keen on using his young players more than ever, it was particularly tough for the 22-year-old to get injured when he did. Strawther is likely going to be competing for minutes as the shooting guard with Braun. However, when it comes to Julian, he can find more minutes in the rotation throughout the year through his great positional length, high motor, defensive upside, and not for nothing, on the offensive end, he made 38.4% of his threes in the regular season, compared to Braun, who made just 21.4% of his threes in the playoffs. As the playoffs are more important for Denver right now, this is more than an eyesore. It's unacceptable if the Nuggets want to get back to the top of the NBA ladder, and Strawther has the opportunity more than ever to fill that hole right now. When you look at the numbers though, it does look a lot like Braun's in a way that may not move you. Strawther only converted 29.7% of his threes in the 2023-2024 regular season and 25% in the postseason. So far, of course, he hasn't performed better in comparison. However, when I look back and I saw he made 38.4% of his threes at Gonzaga, this moves me a little bit. It gives a little bit of credence to me believing this was just rookie jitters and he can improve. This was slightly confirmed this summer where he's coming off in a crazy summer league stint where he averaged 28.5 points per game while shooting just under 41% from three. Again, we go back to fit. We go back to opportunity. This is a time where that shooting guard position is more open than ever in Denver, and Strawther has a fair shot to win in the training camp battle against Christian Braun. If he does, he'll have one of the most important roles on the team. It'll of course be hard because Christian has played very well to this point. I do not want to act like he hasn't. However, there are places where Strawther can be more of a strength. Now, if we get to the overall picture, these are two guys to have at the two that are very good guys going forward. So Denver doesn't have much to worry about with whatever direction they go into. Now going back to the Eastern Conference, which we're going to finish out this video there. Our last two guys are in the East. You guys might not like to hear this because a lot of you are childish, don't understand how, whatever. I'm not even going to talk about that. Josh Giddey. It sounds crazy. Hear me out. Despite ranking third on the 2023-2024 OKC Thunder by possessing the ball for just 2.8 minutes per game, Josh Giddey averaged 12.3 points, almost 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. Those numbers were actually career lows in all three categories, but they still distinguish the Aussie as an uncommon stat stuffer in his age 21 season. Only two other quote-unquote guards matched or beat those averages last year. That was Luka Doncic and Scotty Barnes. Whether Chicago was right to think so or not, the Bulls clearly view Giddey as a foundational piece. He was the sole return in the trade that sent Alex Caruso to OKC, and DeMar DeRozan is no longer around to soap up touches. Assuming Zach LaVine eventually follows DeRozan out the door or succumbs to another injury that removes him from the rotation, Giddey may only have Kobe White to compete with for control of the offense. That's a huge difference than vying for a share of the action with MVP runner-up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, J-Dub, and Chet Holmgren. A lot of times we saw Josh Giddey look lost out there trying to find his way amongst these three guys. Considering his elevation in the pecking order, natural growth trajectory, an opportunity to pile up stats as a primary facilitator, Giddey's per 36 averages from last year, 17, 9, and 7, might be viewed as his floor for next season. Get ready for Giddey, who's logged 11 triple-doubles in his 3 seasons, to nearly double that this season. Mark my words. And to go even further with the Josh Giddey point, we saw moments where teams were forcing him to shoot the ball, and he got comfortable over time. And he started to even shoot them and make them very, very, I won't say very well, but hey, confidence is key when it comes to shooting. You feel me? That's all I'm getting at. But with that being said, that leads us to our last guy. And it's a guy that had a lot of criticism early in the year. It's a guy that drew some nice comparisons as the year started to go. And I think Brandon Miller is one of those guys that is going to be a superstar in this league. And next year is going to be the first year we see that start to take place. Let's talk about it. Brandon Miller had a great rookie year, but they were overshadowed last season by more impressive campaigns from Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren. Now, those who watched Miller, though, y'all would know. He's poised to be elite, an absolute star in this NBA. Brandon Miller oozes potential whenever he steps on the court. He has even spoken in the past about how much he admires Paul George as a player, and I'm gonna tell you guys now, I think he really resembles that of his role model. Of course, some have even compared him to KD. I see the game somewhat, but I see Paul George a lot more. Regardless, that alone speaks volumes about Miller's ceiling in this league. Miller's upside as a two-way superstar should have the Charlotte Hornets and their fans going fanatic about what his second season could look like, especially with LaMelo Ball by his side. LaMelo has already proven himself to be an exciting young talent in his own right with his standout passing. Miller thrived in his rookie season as an off-ball player around lesser talent. So this is gonna be crazy to see. Maybe a more competitive Hornets team, and having LaMelo back in the lineup to consistently find Miller open looks on the perimeter can mean a massive scoring explosion for the rising star in his sophomore season. One that I definitely expect to occur. Now, that was my 5 guys who I think are poised to break out this NBA season. Of course, if you guys want to see 5 more, because I do have plenty of players that I think are ready to break out next year, so I can definitely come up with another video, a part 2, part 3, how many ever y'all need. Maybe I think 3 parts is enough if y'all want that. For now, let me know what you guys think for the top guys that I've listed here. I wouldn't say top guys. Let me not say top 5 because I don't think they're higher than any other. But let me know what you guys think about these guys below. Until next time, it's your boy TV with the greatest hoop stories and debates on the tube. And as always, I'm out. Love you guys. Peace.